Beautiful people. Want to do a gallery view very quickly to honor all of you that are here. I am so excited for today's masterclass. It is something that has truly changed my life, and I am so deeply humbled, honored, excited. I don't know what are the right words to share this with you. And just like super grateful that you guys are here, because everything that I have used to change my life, and when I speak about it and share it on social media or in my classes or in my courses or in my coaching, it just propels me forward to my purpose, that I was put here to go through all the experiences that I ever went through, to learn this knowledge, be an embodiment of this knowledge, and share it with you guys, like all of us. There is no separation. We're co-humans. It gives me deep joy to be able to share this with you. So a little bit of admin. As I said, we are on speaker view, and I don't see myself on the screen, but that's all good. This is being recorded. We will have a Q&A at the end of the masterclass. And so you can save all your questions. You can put it down in the chat as well. So when you go back, you can actually look at the comments in the chat. And if something is clicking, if something is resonating, if something is creating a shift in your awareness, because everything at the end of the day is awareness. How we change our life is when we listen to a podcast, when we watch a reel, we watch something on YouTube, we work with a mentor, a coach. They help you shift, bring more awareness, they expand your awareness. There's a shift. The moment we have awareness to observe our life differently is when we actually start creating those shifts. So if something today in today's conversation is, creating that a new awareness, is creating a jolt, creating a shift, definitely put it in the comments. So let's just get started. Let's just talk about what is today's gathering, our collective energy about. What is this masterclass about? It is the observer effect. The observer effect is really, this masterclass is all about intention and attention. Two things that you can use to literally shift your reality. And when I say literally, it is actually literally, because the quantum leaps happen or shifts happen, or your life suddenly changes in a moment, because your consciousness can shift in a moment. We don't have to have the illusion that I need to do something in order for my life to change. I need to do something in order for my business to explode. I need to do something in order for, the things I'm calling in, for them to happen. So how do we actually do it? With intention and attention. And when we use it wisely, we create a shift so profound, the universe has to respond. These are laws of the universe. One of the biggest things that I learned through my own journey, which I continue to use every single day and live by, is the laws of the universe are supporting everything living. As long as you have a vibration, laws of the universe are always supporting you. So are you living by that is a crucial question that you want to ask yourself. The observer effect is all about intention, attention. And I want to know how many of you guys, put in the chat below, how many of you guys know about the double slit experiment? So just type in a yes or a no, double slit experiment, which changed the, the world, how the world look at quantum, especially the scientists and the whole community of scientists were really taken aback. This is where the observer effect came from. And this is how the quantum world started bringing it more into the regular world. And it no longer was woo-woo. It was like a proper science of how people have actually used this to shift their reality. So I would love to know just a bit. I think I don't know. Okay, Rose says she doesn't know. Helga says yes, a little bit. I want to play something to you guys, and I'll take my earphones out for a moment, and I will explain the double slit experiment, and you'll be like, why are we listening about an experiment? I came here to change my reality. It is all going to land. It's all going to make sense. And then we will go into a deep conversation, you and me, about how you can use this and how you literally change your reality by observing what you're observing so that things can actually happen, collapse. You can collapse waves of potentiality. You can collapse waves of potentiality and possibility by using the observer effect, because everything right now is existing in the field, in the quantum. Everything is particles, atoms, and cells that are there, just it's energy. But how do you actually use your observer effect? How do you use your attention? How do you use your observation to manipulate it in a certain way, whether it's more money, whether it's more clients? I manipulated a certain energy to have you here today. Manipulation is not a wrong word. It's just focus attention. Intention plus attention is actually manipulation. Then you're making it malleable in a certain reality. So how many of you actually want that? How many of you want more clients, more money, that relationship, that, that's something that you're calling in is actually vibration right now, but with the observer effect today that you're going to learn how to apply it, integrate it, embody it, and then begin to shift your reality. So I'm going to play something from a podcast. Let me take my headphones out. This is something I want to share with you guys. Let me know if you can hear me. Just a little thumbs up. This is from a podcast. There is now many explanations of the observer effect, or sorry, the double slit experiment. So you can just go Google in your own time. You don't have to do it now. But I really encourage you to understand what is a double slit experiment. This is going to literally be like, now I understand this, not woo-woo, this is science. I'm going to use this and I'm going to change my life. So it's kind of a certain way of operating. I'm going to play this from a podcast. This person is actually explaining in a very simple way what is a double slit experiment, and then we're going to go on to the next stage. Can you guys hear me?
Happened in this. And again, it's going to be at one point, you're going to be like, why are we hearing all of this? But it all will make sense at the end. And that's what's going to kind of break it down, right? So we got to get our mind's eyes on, right? We got to use that imagination when I'm drawing something with my hands in the air and I'm asking you guys to visualize it, which we've done before. So what we're going to be dealing with here is we're going to be dealing with the smallest of the small. Okay. So we're going to be dealing with quantum physics. And what's going to come from this experiment is, do quantum particles react like material in our physical world? Because again, this is a material, but it's the smallest scale that we can really scale down to at this point. Like electrons are one of the smallest pieces of matter we understand. Right. And they carry energy. And they carry energy, right? And they revolve around the nucleus, right? And there's this connection that's kind of happening there. So at first, before we break it down to that really small part, we're going to explain how this would manifest in the physical. Okay, if we were doing this experiment right now in this office, right? So we would get two boards, like two ply boards, maybe like 8 by 8, right? So they have a lot of covering on them. We would set one in the far back of the room, and then we would set one just like maybe like 2 feet from it. Okay. And then what we would do is we would cut one slit, like a horizontal slit, maybe like 2 inches wide, right? And it goes down and it's probably like 12 inches long. Okay. So what we were going to do in this experiment, again, this is in the physical realm, and this is how it would operate in the physical realm. Say we stood on the other side of the room, okay, and we took a paintball gun and we started shooting that paintball gun at that crack, right? Now, some paintballs are going to go through, some paintballs are going to hit the side. If we stood there long enough shooting, a pattern would start to appear in the back, and it would just be kind of a straight horizontal line that very much mirrors that slit that we already cut. You mean vertical? I'm sorry. Yes, that vertical line. Thank you so much for that. It would resemble that vertical line of that vertical slit that we cut in that first board, which makes sense. Like that's not mind blowing. You guys would be like, okay, right? So we take that a step further, and maybe 6 inches apart from that vertical slit, we cut another slit. Okay, so now we have 2 slits in that board that's in the middle of the room. We go back to our spot and we start shooting at both of those slits, right? After a while, we're going to get that pattern that's going to appear in the back, and it's going to be now 2 parallel vertical lines, right? Same size as the slits. This is exactly how we would expect the reality to be mirrored on the quantum level. Okay, and so this is what they kind of tried to do an experiment. They were like, does quantum physics respond the same way? So they did the same exact model on the smallest level we can do. And instead of shooting paintballs, they were shooting electrons.
Right.
Okay, so they started with that first slit. They did that exact same thing. What happened is they got a pattern in the back wall. They got that same horizontal pattern, that single one, right? So then they cut it a second slit, okay? And they shot the electrons through. And when they introduced that second slit, they didn't get two parallel lines. They got a pattern wave, okay? Now, it was strongest at the points of where those point balls go through, okay? But it had a crest and a wave, and it was just what you literally call like a wave of potential. It's an interference wave, right? And the scientists were baffled by this. Why didn't we get the two straight lines like if we did this with the paintball gun? Why do we have this wave? These two lines aren't even making themselves apparent. So they decided to take it a step further, and they're like, okay, well, what they thought was happening was they thought that maybe the electrons were bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so they thought that maybe they were bouncing off each other. So they said, okay, let's just shoot one electron at a time. Instead of shooting out all these electrons at once, let's just shoot one, let it go through, shoot another, let it go through. So we will minimize the bouncing, right? After like an hour of doing this with the two double slits, the wave pattern appeared again.
Yeah.
Right? So they have the wave pattern. So they're like, what is happening here? Why is this happening? Why are we getting this wave? So they were really baffled by this because this isn't exactly how they expected this experiment to end.
Mm-hmm. So
they decide that what we're going to do is we just want to monitor maybe one of the slits. We want to see what's happening here.
Yeah, like pay close attention to.
Pay close attention to. We're going to almost observe one of these slits. They put a little tracking device that's just going to be counting the electron going through one of the slits, okay? So now we're quantifying time and space. We're putting observation, we're putting attention on this one slit. When that attention is applied and they're shooting one electron at a time, all of a sudden that wave pattern disappears. And now we have those two parallel vertical lines, right? So what does this entail? What is this explaining? The potential was collapsed when conscious observation was placed on the electron, which you've described as energy, right? So what this told us, and this experiment came around like probably about 30 years ago. It might have even been a little bit more at this point. But what this experiment showed us is these electrons are not matter until consciousness is put on them. Until consciousness is actually observing them, they're potential energy. They're a wave. It's a waveform. Right. So that electron, when it wasn't observing, was going through one slot, the other slot, hitting the wall, and going in between all at the same time because that wave wasn't collapsed. Right. So what do we see from this? Like, what do we pull from this? Well, we now know that consciousness collapses waves. Attention collapses waves. And this has so much to say on when we think about our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, which is the expressions of consciousness. These are.
So let me put my headphones on. Okay. So who enjoyed this little explanation of the double slit experiment? Okay, so Rose says, I did hear about it, but not so technically, and it is so good and complete. Exactly. That is why I wanted to share it with you guys, because there's so much out there about the double slit experience. And I could literally frame it in my own words, but I think it is from the Know Thyself podcast. So you know where I've actually used this from, Know Thyself podcast. It is so precise, so good, and it kind of explains that is fascinating. Chris says that is fascinating, and I know absolutely, like I learned about the observer effect like a year and a half or something into it, and I learned it through Dr. Joe Dispenza, and his explanation of things is a bit different, but when I found this, I was like, I have to share it with you guys. So we now understand that there was an experiment which led to the observer effect being declared to the world, that our observation of anything is actually collapsing that wave of possibility. And so now let's talk about, I don't know how many of you guys have been watching my stuff, or you've been listening to my lives, or you've been in many of my courses and classes where I talk about the very first thing, foundation I want to lay here is everything is energy. Everything is atoms. So even we, and most of us would probably argue that, oh, no, look, I'm a physical human. I can see nails, skin. What are you talking about? But that you're 100% energy, 99.9999% is your non-physical matter, atoms, cells, molecules. 0.00001% is your physical matter, which is your shape, your form. And most people spend their whole life using just the 0.00001%, their physical form, to bring things into physical form. And that's why they're not able to collapse time. They're really trying hard. They're working hard. Now we're using the physical to get more physical. But we want to be smart. We want to be able to bring into ourselves, into our 100% energy, so we can collapse waves. We can bring anything from the quantum to us by identifying everything as atoms. So now, if everything is a wave of possibility, if everything just exists in the field, everything, they're just atoms, there's just vibration, they're just energy. Everything is a wave of possibility. In the quantum, there is infinite possibilities, waves of potentiality. Now, how do we change? So say, for example, whatever you're calling in, write down in the chat. I want to really see, what are you guys calling in? What is it? Is it a relationship? Is it a business? Is it more money? Is it more wealth? Is it like a successful business where you're so lit up that you're living your purpose and the wealth is a byproduct of it? For me, it was a huge thing that my business was successful, but my money was tied to, my wealth was tied to my purpose codes. Like that had to be it. What are you calling in? There are so many things that we all can call in at the same time. It doesn't have to be just one thing as well. You can observe collapsing of waves in many areas of your life. Remember, you're limitless. You're a multidimensional being. Never just sit with, oh, let me just work with one area of my life. This is so often a thing that I collapse for all of my clients. People will come in and be like, I just want to first work on my business, then I want to work on my relationship, then why? Why just one thing? Who told you you just have to work on one thing? That's a belief you have around yourself, right? Like, let's just be multidimensional. Abundance and money. That's great. We're all really magicians. I love that. So let me know, what all are you calling in? So yes. So money is a vibration. Energy is a vibration. It's just energy. It's just atoms. It's just like there in the field. How do we call it? So it's like waves of potentiality. It can come to you through any form. So if you haven't heard or my life on my Source Junkie page, I'd highly recommend you go and understand the three waves of wave of predictability, wave of possibility, and wave of potentiality, to identify where you at, because all that exists in the quantum are all waves of potentiality. But how are you operating and where are you blocking it is the question. Which means that if you know that everything is potential, there are waves and waves around it, and that means that money can come to you from anywhere. That's how my client, Michelle Jones, ended up having 195K in that money program she did with me. She was my private client. in 21 days, it all came out in one day to her. But the point is that she wasn't expecting it. It did not come from her business because we moved her into the field of potentiality. What does that mean? That means that every story, every idea, every belief you have around this is how it's going to come. If you know the how, you're in the field of predictability. You cannot collapse a wave with predictability. You cannot. So how are we going to use the observer effect? It's all going to make sense, right? So let me know how you guys are feeling, how this is landing. I can unpack it even more because sometimes, I come from a place of knowing this for a while and applying this. So I can unpack this even more. So I really want you to be able to break this down. I want to break this down in a way that it really becomes your truth. It becomes like your basic understanding, and you can play with it every second of your being. Very nice car, financial abundance, new opportunities. I love that. I love that. I love that, Chris. So they are all right now waves of potential, waves of possibility. Now we're going to really understand a few things, how you're going to use the observer effect to call these in, because now you understand that they just exist. You don't have to create anything. It is all there. They're fields of potential. How you're going to use your consciousness to collapse each wave. What is a manifestation? I spoke about it the other day on my live. A manifestation is you collapsing a wave. The moment you collapse a wave with your consciousness, you've quantum manifested. You've gone against time and logic. You have collapsed everything about time and space, the illusion. Like whoever told you, or you believe that it's going to take me 3 years to get this car, for example, or 2 years. So right now you are actually, your observer effect is that it's going to be 1 year. Well, no, we don't observe it like this. If you want to be able to quantum leap, if you want that car standing in your house within a few days, what are you going to do? We're going to talk about it. I just want to be amazed by every experience. You're calling it magic, Rose. That's what I was calling it. And now live it every day. I live it. And I think that is something human beings don't really understand the essence of, that if you can live in magic every day, you are a match to the potentiality and collapsing waves of potential a lot more, because you are magic now. You are like waves of potential because you're not limiting yourself to a certain story and idea. Enjoy every part of my life, abundance and all the good things, self-love, pleasure, beautiful surprises, divine friendships. And this is all, okay, delicious relationships. This sounds so much like me. This is who I was, because I had gone through so much tragedy and trauma and testing time after time after time, financially, emotionally, that I was like, I just want to feel good. I just want to feel magic. I want to be like, is there a next level where people just don't survive but feel really good? Like the 70, I didn't even know it was possible till I actually experienced it. And it is possible. It is so possible. And like, that's why I think I get excited and I can't just shut up about this, that if I can do it, you can do it. Like, this is my life's mission now. So let's go back to the observer effect. I love the fact that this knowledge exists and we all can use it, because it truly did change my life. Okay. So your girl has put some notes here just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So let's say you are calling, focus on whatever you're calling, okay? Each one of you is calling different things. So we now know that everything is existing around us. Our only job is to use our intention and applied attention, focus attention, which is the observer effect. Yeah. We want to use our intention. Our intention is what we're calling it. Yeah. And our attention is the observer effect. It's our focus attention channeled. It is very intentional. It is very intentional because it's now not what I'm observing, what is happening to me. It is very intentional because I'm using my intention. I'm channeling all my observation, all my attention through my consciousness. Through my consciousness is my thoughts, how I think, my feelings, how I feel, emotions, and actions. What actions am I taking? What choices am I making daily? They're all expressions of my consciousness. If I am now doing it in an intentional way, intention and attention. Your smile is so distracting. I'm looking at Rose's photo. It's their profile. It's like, so it's beautiful and it's so distracting. Sorry. So intention and channeled attention, observing it in a way that we're going to collapse the wave. I'm going to unpack this more, but let me see how this is landing for you guys. Yeah. And any comments? Okay. So there are waves. We've covered this. There are waves everywhere. So the car is a wave. The partner is a wave. The new clients is the wave. The money is a wave of potential. The happiness is the wave. Like, it is just a consciousness because your body's not changing. When I was depressed and sad and like anxious and even going once to the ER for anxiety, that was still my body, but my consciousness was observing a different reality. My observer effect was very different versus my body is still the same. Of course, you know, my body feels healthier. My cells feel healthier, but I have observed a certain reality. And now I have collapsed the wave of happy version of me. So I'm in a different reality. So when you say, Rose, that you want more magic and happiness and like, you know, living on the edge of every experience, you're still the same person, but your consciousness, your observation, the consciousness, how you're thinking, how you're feeling, and how you're acting every moment has now transcended into this version of you. Is this landing? Let me know how this is landing for you guys. So I want you to now take a moment. If you understand this concept that the observer effect is simply put nothing more than your observation, your focus attention of your reality. The observer effect is broken down into simple words is there has to be something observing something. So when a tree falls in the woods, if there is nobody and there was a sound, or was there a sound? We don't know. There was nobody observing anything. But when a tree falls in the forest, in the woods, and you watched it, you heard it, now you observed the sound and you witnessed the falling of it. There was an observer. But if you weren't there and this happened, you weren't aware of it, it was existing. It was existing. What is existing in the quantum? Everything is existing, but we are not using our observation to witness it. Is this landing? This is making sense? But when you're in the forest and you've used your observation, you saw and heard the tree fall into the woods. So now that we understand that there has to be an observation, there has to be a focus. If you look at your reality right now, so we're going to do a little exercise. So this is really going to land, yeah? If you do an exercise of observation right now, if you look at your reality, your life, there has to be an observer. There has to be an observer. Have you been the observing mind? Of course, yes. You, from your mind, are observing everything, what has happened, what is happening, and what is going to happen is all like going to happen is literally like a projection. But you are observing a reality based on your observing mind. So I want you to look at what is that you have been observing. What is that you're calling in? And what has been happening to you? Say you've been calling in a car for 2 months. You've been calling a car, you know, like fulfillment in your business for last, I don't know, 2 years or probably 6 months. And it's not happening the way you want. You've done a lot of things. In fact, you're frustrated. So first, I want you to become aware of what have you been observing in your reality? This is a big eye opener. Just take a moment. What have you been observing? Have things been working out for you? Have you been observing, oh my God, I'm doing so much, but I'm not getting the results? Have you been observing when you see other people in a certain car, you feel like they have it and I don't? Are you observing? What have you been observing? Write it down or just become aware of it. It's all good. You know, there is no, this place is totally safe and it's no separation. We all have our own observer mind. But I want you to get really crystal clear on it, because this is the contrast. Is going to be this penny drop moment that, actually I've been doing that. I should be, now I'm not choosing to do this anymore. What have you been observing in your reality in terms of what you're calling in? Let's just look at that for a moment. Rose is sharing, whatever I wanted the most, I gave power to an outer force that was against me, so I could manifest anything, but not the things I wanted the most. Now there is much less resistance, much more allowance. That's it. I love it. And one of the major parts of weaving in the observer effect is the path of least resistance. I always say this in every training, everything that I'm doing when I'm helping people shift into the consciousness, into the reality they want, is that path of least resistance. Because you're not going against a force. You're just falling in alignment. If anything's energy, if you're pushing against the energy, it's not going to work. But if you're in alignment, you're in harmony, if everything, as my mentor Bob Proctor says, if you are in harmony of the frequency of the things you're calling in, you cannot help but become a match to it. Is effort there, is a lack? Unpack that for me. That's all good, all good. If anyone needs to, go about their things and it's so late for you, I totally understand. Thank you. I so love you being here. Thank you. And you can, we'll make sure that the recording goes through today. Thank you for being here. I see you. Thank you. So the observer effect, let's talk about what have you been observing. Now, how do you actually change it? How do you change what you've been observing? It's almost like, what you've been observing is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Because now, whatever you believed in your thoughts, whatever emotions you felt, feelings, and whatever choices you were making according to how you thoughts create feelings, feelings create actions. So whatever thoughts, actions you took based on thoughts, feelings, actions created your reality. That means you made a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's going to take me a year. So it's going to take you a year. You are fulfilling your own assumption of your reality. It's almost like you're wired to it. You're wired to it. Look back and see how many times have you had a self-fulfilling prophecy around things. Because your consciousness was supporting it. Your observer effect was supporting it. The basic principle of observer effect is our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions that make our consciousness are literally collapsing every wave of possibility, literally collapsing our reality into the next, into the next, into the next. So if you believe, for example, have you been observing thoughts? Like, I really want you to get very honest with yourself here when I say that whatever you're calling in, what have you been observing around it? I get it, or I don't have it, or it's taking time, or it happens to other people, it doesn't happen to me. How come she has it and I don't? How come he has it and I don't? Maybe I will get it. Even though you're happy for other people, there is an element of lack in your observation. You know, bad things happen to me. If bad luck can follow you, so can good luck. But what are you observing? If there is lack, there can also be abundance. But what am I observing? If there is the having of it and there is the lack of it, the not having of it, they both exist. But what am I observing? What am I focusing on? What am I putting intentional attention, intentional focus is what is really right now happening in my freaking reality. That is what's happening. And the whole point of this masterclass is to be able to shift you into a gear, like literally shift gears. I'm not observing this anymore. I'm going to observe it in a different way because I have the power as the observing mind, as the observer mind. It's landing, Chris. I love that. I love that. So here's what one of the things I want to tell you. That is a big thing in quantum leaping, in quantum manifestation, because quantum manifestation means that we don't have to become something else. We don't have to believe in something else. We just become that consciousness and we are that version of us. Right? Are we on the same page, all of us? We become the consciousness of whatever we desire. We become that. So there is no stories in quantum manifestations to say when I decided I wanted to have the first 6 figure in the first 12 months, I didn't put a time to it, but I was like this. So I started focusing on what are the conversations, what are the things I'm thinking versus how am I going to get the clients versus I had the clients, what am I doing next? There is a total different observation of reality. But once we decide and we start embodying the consciousness, we start thinking like that version, we start feeling the emotions like that version, we start taking actions like that version, not versus the version who's trying to be that. That is the biggest thing most people, you know, kind of struggle to understand with quantum manifestation. It is a shift of consciousness. It is not that you hustling or you're trying to use matter to attract more matter, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, matter attracting matter, you're going to get it ultimately. Yes, of course you're going to get it. But are you willing to put so much effort, or can you have it the easier way because you are a master creator? Are you going to use that ability? So the biggest thing is that the same energy that attracts you bad luck, perceived hardships, perceive challenges, test, the same energy can get you good luck because it's just energy. It's just pull and push. It's just drawing things to you. It's just the feel that you have. So how can you use your observation to expand that energy? You don't have to change anything, first of all. Today, if I told you, in order for you to actually have that car, in order for you to actually have those paying clients, in order for you to business to explode to the next level, in order for you to become the version of you that you want to become, you don't have to do anything. Literally nothing. If you believed today that you don't have to do anything, guess what? How fast will you transcend into that? Because you already, can you feel it in your body when I say this? You don't have to do anything. Breathe. Can you feel it? There's a visceral feeling. I really want you to feel that you today, right now, don't have to do anything to become who you want to become. Have that car, have that partner, have more money, have those clients, have that happiness, that joy. Like, drop every story. But there is a belief that you have that in order to get that, you have a belief you are observing that you have to do something in order for you to get that. That is the observer effect. That's the observation of it. Yeah. So many stories in our head. That's the whole thing. We're dropping one story away of suddenly shifting our consciousness. And out of boom, 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 the quantum sends things that we can't even imagine because they're waves of possibility and potential. And most of the times, it will come as a surprise. It will never come as the way you're expecting it. I cannot say this as many times, like so many times I keep repeating like a broken record. I harp on this. Quantum gifts come as surprises. So if you're sitting there saying like, this is how I'm going to create the business, this is how I'm going to get the car, this is, you know, a way, you know, the how, you're in predictability. You're not in the way, field of potentiality. You are not literally using the observer effect, because now we're going to use how we're going to use the observer effect. And we magic with the observer effect. We don't need to predict everything. That's where the wave collapses even faster. So there is an amount of self-perception here that's involved with this observer effect. I want to know how you guys feeling into it right now. Just I'm going to have a sip of water and let this layer up. And we have two more important things to share. So you can literally leave today feeling I have shifted. I am now using my observer effect in a very intentional, focused way. So let me know in the comments how this is landing for you. Yes, not controlling how it's going to happen. So this is how we're going to do that. That's a great observation. That is the whole point, Rose, that we do not, if whatever stories you have around, I want this. So like you think like, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to post, and then people are going to come, this, that, I'm going to have this offer sell. I can tell you what, the way I ever expected to get the money did not come that way. The way, like whatever I've done in my business so far, whatever, like the way I thought I will heal my heart didn't happen that way. Whatever, like everything just took me by magic. That is quantum. That is like you collapsing waves, but there is a way to do it. There's a formula. There is a framework to do it. And that doesn't take away from the essence of what I just said. You don't need to do today anything. If you believe that you don't have to do anything, you just transcend into that timeline. You are it. You are that consciousness. The more often you do it, the more often you actually hardwire that feeling in you. Thoughts, feelings, actions. The more and more your body starts feeling it and your nervous system is so regulated around it, because now it's not outside of you. It's not some big experience. Oh, think so amazing. What are you going to feel when you have that car? Well, if you put it on a pedestal and you're like, I'm going to feel so freaking amazing. Well, are you feeling amazing every day? Are you feeling amazing right now? Because you can transcend. Your body, your cells, your nervous system is so regulated to that feeling. So are you visualizing every day that just feeling into it? Does your body know the feeling? If your body doesn't know the feeling and we're putting it on a pedestal that when it comes, we will feel freaking amazing. I am right now not in that consciousness. I am not an energetic match because I am not that consciousness right now. I love that. We are the price. Yeah. We are the price. We are it. So there's a certain amount of self-perception, your self-concepts. And I want you to be able to use this observer effect. What you should be. Okay, so it's almost like, you know, what you observe about your own self is collapsing a wave of possibility. What you observe. Okay, how do I say this? Like, everything around you is responding to the observer effect. Can we write it down in the comments so that everyone can see that again? Everything in your reality is responding to your observation, is responding to your observer effect. You're observing effort. You're observing consciousness. Let this land. This is the thing. This is what's going to literally shift you into a timeline that you want. So then what should I be observing would be your question, right? What should I be observing then? Take your desire, whatever that is, whatever timeline that is. Like in a timeline, I am having the car, I'm having the partner, I'm having the money, I'm feeling all these things. So here's my question to you. If you want to be more abundant, so many of you wrote abundance, more money or abundance, right? Like I saw that abundance coming through the comments. Here's the question of self-perception, of self-concept. So what would be an abundant person thinking most part of their day? What would be an abundant person thinking most part of their day? What would be an abundant person feeling most part of the day? What would be an abundant person doing in actions most part of the day? When you're in the traffic light, you are abundant in your time. You're not complaining about it. When, like, what are the things you're doing? Observe. Now, how this ties into your desires. It's you right now, everything your self-concepts are, whatever you're observing about your reality. To give you an example, there was a version of me, how I use the observer effect. So it kind of lands even in a deeper way. So there was a time when I was struggling financially, and I've been tested on my entrepreneurship journey like so many times. Like, how many of your entrepreneurs here, hands up, like you will be tested again and again and again and again, because now you're like, I'm not going to work for anyone. I have a strong will. I'm doing this. And God source universe will be like, yeah, fine. You wanted this. Let's test you. So there was a time when I would have more bills than what was coming in. So I started observing, oh my God, more bills are coming, more bills are coming. Oh my God, the money's less and the bills are coming, the bills are coming, the bills are coming, the bills are coming, the bills are coming. So what was I observing? The bills are coming. I'm thinking about the bills. I'm feeling a certain way, anxiety, fear. Like sometimes I did have fear as well. And then the actions I'm taking is from a place of, do I spend on this? Do I spend on this? Can I save this here? Can I save this here? My actions are totally of a consciousness of a person who is actually in a reality where the observing of that reality is what is currently happening, right? Because it was happening to me. It was happening to me. I don't know how many of you have ever felt like there are more bills than the income or whatever you're observing about your reality. So how did I change it? When I became aware of the observer effect, it was the understanding that I have to have very strong self-concepts. So I created new self-concepts. B, be delusional, which meant the way I'm observing this has got nothing to do with my current reality. The observer effect, if you want to quantum leap, start defocus on your current reality. Your whole consciousness has got nothing to do with your current reality. Tie that in to every part of your being, because then you're just the observer of your current reality. How are you ever going to be an intentional creator? How are you using intentional attention to what you're calling in? Because you are focusing on the waves that have collapsed already. You're focusing on the waves that have collapsed already. The bills have come and you're focusing. Your observer mind, the observer effect is on what's happened. We are not here to focus on that. We are here to become delusional. Use the observer effect, intentional focus, and collapse waves of possibilities and potential of what I'm calling in. So what I started doing is I got very clear on my self-concepts. Self-perception is literally like the observer effect. What you're thinking about yourself, and in areas of yourself, you have a relationship with everything. It's not just a romantic relationship. You have a relationship with money. You have a relationship with what you're calling in. You have a relationship with the food. You have a relationship with the conversations you're having with. You have a relationship with your clients. You have a relationship with your friends. Whatever is in your reality, you literally have a relationship to. So self-concepts. I started shifting my perception. I have more than enough. I can't believe that how I attract, all these affirmations that you do, it's literally like how much do you actually feel them and embody them? You create new affirmations. Affirmation is nothing but self-concepts, but you do it in a way that actually becomes your truth. And for those of you who are with me in the Quantum Collective, I will be taking you through subconscious rewiring. So your subconscious brain is literally rewired to it. So when you take your self-perception, now you're like, I can't believe versus, oh my God, the bill is here. I don't have the money. Well, we've all gone through that, but are you going to focus, observe that? Or you're going to be like, I'm observing a new reality. So you're going to be delusional. You're going to be asking yourself these questions, consciousness questions. That is the observer effect. You literally have to observe. You'll be like, every day start observing. Oh my God, money's coming. So if you get $7 in a product, like I remember the time when I had created products where like a PayPal notification was $7 would come, I'll be like, so my earlier version was like only $7. And my current, in the last 1 year, was like, because then my observation was this is abundance. I didn't focus on the 7. I focused on it could be 7 million, it could be 7,000, it could be 70,000, because it's all energy. It's the meaning we give to that energy. So what am I observing? Am I observing the lack or the abundance? So today, if you had to ask yourself, whatever you're calling it, and you're going to use the observer effect, what are you observing? You had the car already. You have the partner already. You have the client already. You've had the magic within you already. Here's the things. What is your self-talk? If I feel so good sitting in this car, I feel so good waking up next to my partner. I feel so good that I get to share this wisdom with all these people. Those are the self-conversations you're having. You're not having like, when this happens, when will this happen? That is the shift in consciousness. The observer effect has shifted. Now you're observing your reality from a place you already have it, not that you're in a lack of it. So you want to collapse that wave? You've got to put intentional focus. You got to change your conversation with yourself because now you're observing the reality from the place you already have it. Now, the best part is our brain does not know the difference between what is imagination and what is occurred reality. When you start using the observer effect and you start having conversations with yourself that I can't believe, like, how did I even do it? You don't know the how. You still can't figure out. When you look back, you still can't figure out sometimes. But you start acting, behaving, feeling like that, oh my God, this feels so good. I love the smell in my new car. So you're already in that reality. You're observing the reality like this, even though your current version is wanting the car, you are tricking your reality. You're observing it in a way to collapse that wave. So when I'm in it, I simply go change my self-talk, my self-thoughts. You got to start thinking like the person who's not lacking in it, but is living it. You got to start thinking like the person who's not lacking in it, but is living it. You got to start feeling like the person who's not waiting to anticipate how it feels, but is actually feeling the feelings every time you close your mind. And if for those of you like, I can't imagine, that's fine. But that's the whole process. That's the nervous system regulation. That is the your whole body, your 70 trillion cells coming to the normalcy of being that in that consciousness, becoming that identity. If you can't do it today, well, how are you going to collapse the wave? You got to observe, you got to behave like the person who already has it. This is where most of your identity will collapse as the being who didn't have it. This is where you will be questioned by the people around you. This is where your delusional aspects of you start playing up because you're like so detached to the identity. This is where your relationships might even fall. There might be people around you who will try to bring you back to the current reality, but you're like so determined about your observer effect that you no longer want to be in that old reality. that is when you become into supreme power as a conscious creator. I love these fire emojis. So I want to know, how is this unpacked for you? Have you guys understood the basic concept of observer effect and how you're going to use it through self-perception and self-concepting? You're literally going to use your thoughts, feeling, and actions are your consciousness. Just get it very clear on how you think, feel, and act make your consciousness. And if you want to be able to collapse a wave of potential, the observer effect, the observation of that, the consciousness, thoughts, feelings, actions are your expressions of your consciousness. You are going to use it in a way that you're already in that reality. So you start acting like this today. And it's not acting, you are becoming that person. You don't have to do anything today to become that person. You are that. The moment you feel it, the moment you don't go like, how will I feel in the car? You're freaking feeling it right now. How am I going to feel the, like how good would it be to live up in a reality where I am feeling XYZ? No. I get to feel it right now. Nervous system regulations, 70 trillion cells on board is the mission of it all. Observer effect is that. The acceptance and surrendering is all that's needed, right? To collapse, yes. And the acceptance and surrender, literally, this is beautiful, Rose. We often struggle with the acceptance and surrender because now the brain is like, what are you talking about? It's almost like, like I used to say this when I would be delusional and I would try to start doing the observer effect. My brain would be like, bitch, what are you talking about? Have you seen the bank account? How are you going to feed the kids? Like the brain is keeping a track of the real records. The brain is meant to keep you safe. The primal brain is kept to keep you safe from the tiger who's coming in the jungle. It is supposed to keep you safe and regulate, but your nervous system would be fight, flight, or freeze. So when I'm trying to do the observer effect, the brain is not letting me come to the acceptance that I am the person who feels harmony, feels good every day, wakes up to not thinking about how I'm going to pay the bills. Like what consciousness would I be in? I just wake up, I feel good. I tell myself I love myself. I write in a journal. I make my coffee. Now I'm calling it a new reality where I have a partner. So I'm thinking about, I wake up in the morning. The first thing I'm told is, first I always tell myself I love myself, but I'm telling the person next to me. So I'm collapsing the wave by observing that already. But the acceptance and surrender is because the logic mind will not let you play with the observer effect. So you got to be in charge. You got to be in charge of being delusional. Yes. So your programming is going to play, your patterns are going to play, but this is the power of observer effect. And this is the power of quantum leaping. You can spend the next 10 years rewiring your subconscious, healing yourself, telling yourself, because now you're believing that this all needs to be done in order for you to transcend into that reality. But the faster way to do this is to believe that nothing needs to be done right now. Nothing needs to be done. In this moment, you're fully capable. In the moment you make the shift and you embody the consciousness, you start thinking, feeling, and acting of that consciousness. And the more often you do it, the more often you feel the smell of the new car, just sitting, closing eyes. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, the real play is to keep the eyes open and be able to do it. We all can sit in a visualization and feel things. The moment we open our eyes, we're snapped out of it. No. When we start playing in our reality with our eyes open and we're still embodying the consciousness, we're still embodying the observer effect of the wave we're collapsing. We are real players. We are real conscious manipulators, real conscious reality builders then. So the world that you're observing, this is like a recap, this is like a summary. The world that you're observing right now, Okay, we all have our universe. I love the emojis. You guys are so special. Here's the bomb. Here's the thing that is like, this was the masterclass was all about. This is the world that you're observing is the world that you're living in. Because the world we observe is literally how we see the world is how it appears to us. The world, everybody sees the world differently. Like for me, world is XYZ, is harmony. Like I don't focus on things. I don't focus on recession. I don't focus on, not because of a certain position. I don't focus on, there's a lot of negative in our world as well, but I focus on how I wish to see it. So everybody sees the world a certain way. How Rose would see it will be different than how Chris sees it, and how I see it is different than how Chris or Rose see it, right? So there is a certain observing that I'm doing of the world. And the more I observe it in a certain way, the more I create that reality, because the observing has a consciousness pattern to it. And the moment I realize that, hang on, my observation of everything is bringing more of those to me. Because have you seen that when you start listening to the news about recession, or the people who are doing this, next few days, they're all anxious and stuff? Or are you thinking about good stuff? Are you thinking about the next creative project? And have you ever been wanting to create something, and when you get on that idea for the next few days, you're freaking inspired? Why? Why are you so inspired? Because now your observation of your world is on that thought. Your intentional focus is on it, and it will come to life a lot faster. Why? Because you've collapsed the wave. You've literally not sat there and done, will this happen? Will this not? You're like, I'm creating this. I'm feeling so good. So you're acting like the person who's already created it. And your observation of that reality brings it to life a lot faster. Same principle. Our observation of the world, of the reality, is collapsing waves. So all your desires exist as waves, as particles, as possibilities in the potential field of quantum, as atoms. They're waves, okay? They're just floating. Everything you want is a wave. As I said, when I invited the first 100 people to join the Quantum Collective, which is going to be my regular coaching portal, I said one thing. I said, if you're ready to collapse waves of possibility, everything you want is a wave. Is a wave. How you observe the world, how you observe your reality now around that intention, with intentional focus and attention, will collapse that wave. Now, whether it takes you 6 months or a year, or it happens next week, it happens tomorrow, suddenly there is something happening, because you have shifted the way you're observing the reality. You have shifted your consciousness. The observer effect is you observing your world from the place of the version of you who has it and is living it. That's it. That's it. Let this land, and I would love to have a Q&A. If you have questions, if you want to bring up some certain personal situation and you want to know how to apply the observer effect, I am very gladly going to help you do that as you're here. So feel free to come on. If you want to have a video with me coaching right now, you're welcome to come audio or video and ask me questions, or you can type it in there in the text box, whatever you're feeling into. And if you have any questions. I love all the, you're giving it life. Yes, I love that, Rose. Exactly. You are giving it life. So what is life? Life is And have you heard about even the experiment of the water, right? Like the water molecules changed when you put intention. Same thing. When we put intention to the food we eat, the intention to the water we drink, the intention to our relationships, the intention to the energy of money, the intention to what we're creating, the intention to what is every area of our life. Intention and intentional focus, attention. The more we have, you ever been, this is a great example. Like, I would love to share this with you from my personal journey, because there was a time when after my divorce and a couple of years after, I wasn't in great terms with my ex-husband, and there was like a lot of conflict, especially when you have two kids involved, and you just have different programmings and way of working, and neither one of us was bad. Like, no one's ever bad. It's just everyone is working on their programming. And there was a point where it was like, because I was observing, we always argue, we always fight, we always don't understand each other. He always doesn't get my emails, he doesn't get my messages, he always frustrates me, he this, he that. I'm observing. And you may want to see this in other areas, relationships. Are you doing that? Because I was observing my world, my reality from a place of that consciousness. So how did I change it? Because today, me and my ex-husband, we are such great co-parents. We celebrate each other. He's one of my great friends. And, like we just, people often can't get this, like, how are you guys so? And we are very clear, like we're a separated family, but like that is the ability. I had a vision. So I used the observer effect. So way before he changed, I started leading with the observer effect. I started telling myself self-concepts that I have a great relationship with my ex-husband. I don't even know how he gets it. He's become so understanding. All of those things, they were not happening. I manipulated reality. I observed it differently. That is how I use observer effect in all areas of my life, like how I felt, how I looked, how I received money, how I how I got my car. So we talk about cars, Chris, like how I manifested my car, how observe it from a place that you're already, so say you're in it, you have the clients, you're feeling magic every day, right, Rose? You wake up, excuse me. What are the conversations you will have when you wake up and you're feeling really good? A second. You'd be like, I feel so good. I just feel so good. I just feel so good. Whatever you're feeling, like I was like, I can't believe I have such an harmonious relationship with my ex-husband. I literally started observing it and it happened. And now I wake up like, I don't obsess over it. It's just existing. It's just worth, like, peace, frequency, harmony is there. So yes, it's about claiming. Yeah, so you got it. The observer effect. Let me read who's written this. Rose has written the observer effect, focused on your recognizing your exquisite, unique soul and experience it through the different experienced, gives me a feeling of extreme freedom and expansion. Yes, you feel, you seem like a person who's definitely creative. And yeah, and that is also our natural state. It is, we're multidimensional beings. We're never supposed to put labels. We're never supposed to put limitations. We were programmed in a society where we're meant to certainly behave a certain way and run businesses a certain way. So today, if any one of you is an entrepreneur and you're like, I need to be a certain way, I need to be professional a certain way, I need to project a certain way, and you're going against the grain of your soul and who you are, you're probably not going to collapse the wave of possibility in the way you want to. Like, I had to drop all stories. I had to become this version of me who's fully expressive as I am. I don't need to behave in a certain way and professional and this and that. No, this is who I am. And oftentimes, my clients can see this, the people, the humans who come in my world. So many times I get messages, I love your authenticity. And one of you sent me this message this morning, and it really touched me. So it is about being your natural expression. And the observer effect comes into place with everything. Where are you telling yourself stories? Why are you not observing your reality? of the way you wanted. So if you wanted to have a business, a life where you're fully being yourself and you get to receive money, you got to help people, observe the reality like this. That means you never have to shut yourself in a way. You never have to behave a certain way that is not you. The more and more you start observing this reality, what would you go? You would be like, I always say to myself, I can't believe I said this before it happened, before I waved the, collapsed the wave. I can't believe that people love me. I get so much appreciation. I'm seen, I'm heard. I can't believe that I get to be me and have this successful business. I didn't have a successful business back then when I was saying it. But because I observed my reality like this, I ended up like this. Yeah. So I really want you to integrate this. Get all the juice from this. You can watch this over and over again and really come to the fact that the act of observation is what is influencing your reality. I'm going to say this one more time. The act of observation is influencing your reality. So the question remains, how do I want to observe it? How do I want to observe it? So feeling, yes, something that clicked for me was focusing on the desired timeline. Okay. And trusting that consciousness fully, not the old one. Sometimes we try to fix things and get into the new timeline from old one. And no, it's just focusing on the new one. Yes. So first of all, we don't create a separation. So this was the biggest thing for me. When we say, our desired timeline. So if I'm here right now in my reality, yeah, when I'm coaching you guys, I say old and your desired reality, because I need to create a separation in order for you to deliver this knowledge. But if I was in my own life doing this work for myself, which I do daily, which I am right now in it, because you're a creator of your reality, I don't go like my desired timeline, because the moment I say that, I separate, I put it on a pedestal, I go like, there is a separation. I am not in it right now because I desire it. The moment you desire something, that means you don't have it. That means you're in the consciousness of lack. That means the universe now knows that you don't have that thing. So the biggest shift you can do right now with the observer effect is you observe that you're in it. It is not a desired timeline anymore. You're in it. You're observing it from being in it. You're not observing it from being outside of it, desiring it. Did that land, or did I say it too fast? You are, yes. So we don't say the desired timeline. I know in the reference of context of understanding and breaking it down, I get it. But when you are doing this for yourself, there is no desired timeline. You're in it. You're observing it. You're like, I'm feeling so good about this. I can't believe it. This is happening. That is happening in a way that your nervous system is regulated. You're living it right now. So once you collapse that way, and then you go on to the next. You go on to the next. So it is never a desired timeline. Sorry, I'm going to pop you on mute. It is never a desired timeline. In your own observation, you're living it. That is the difference from being in the consciousness of lack of it, someone who is operating not in the consciousness of not having it and wanting to create it, versus going into the consciousness of someone who has created it, has collapsed the wave, and every conversation, self-perception, self-concepts, thinking, feeling, and acting like the human who is living it. That is the biggest thing. And to give you an example, like I spoke about how I had a $17,000 day on the 1st of December, 2021, which came out of nowhere. Like I knew I had started a coaching business. There were a couple of clients working with me. I was charging a rate of $5,000 per month. And so somebody had worked with me for 4 weeks, and then they were like, no, we want to sign up for 3 months. They signed up on the same day. Another person signed up for like a 4-week thing, and boom, there I am having 12K and 5K in one day, 17K. I'm like, what? What? How? There is the weaving of the magic that I did not actually understand. This is potentiality, that I didn't sit there and write, oh, it feels so good to have 17K, because now I'm in predictability. I just went every day observing the reality as I feel so good. It feels so good to be calm. It feels so good to be in abundance. It just, when I would have my tea, I would have abundance in my cells. I created safety. I had gone through a lot of trauma. I had gone through a lot of financial stress. So when I would, if some of you have read my book, I talk about how I actually started creating safety in my own body. So I would highly recommend, please go read my book if you haven't. There's so much you can do by yourself in those moments when you are trying to regulate yourself into an identity, because your thoughts, feelings, and actions, your emotions, your feelings are correlated with your nervous system. So you want to be in your parasympathetic nervous system. You want to be like, I've got this, I'm relaxed, versus not, what next? What do I need to do? What do I need to do in order for this? Because then you're fight, flight, right? Oh, you love my book. Oh, that's beautiful, Rose. I love that too. I am so glad that it served you on a level, and you're going to go back and read it over and over. I read my book over and over again, right? So like sometimes I forget and I have to go back to the same principles. So it is really about observing the reality. The act of observation will influence. Okay, this is what I wanted to read to you. This is what I learned, something from Dr. Spencer. The act of observation will influence that which is being observed. The act of observation will influence that which is being observed. Everything is existing. Everything. There is a version of you sitting down in China right now, having dumplings somewhere and getting paid passive income for their books. It's not, you're not in that reality because you're not observing it. Everything is existing in the quantum. The act of observation will influence that which is being observed. So what are you observing is going to come to shape and form. So get very crystal clear on what you want to observe, start observing it, and start leaping into that. Yeah. It has been reading now. Chris says reading now. I love it. It has been my deepest pleasure to be here, have this conversation with you. It has been so incredible. You guys had such beautiful energy, like, you know, such engagement. I love it. I love it. Now there's something I have for you guys, even the ones who are going to replay. If you do a little boomerang, don't take a photo. They don't come out nice. Or maybe, but make a boomerang. And if you want to share it on social media, or you want to take a photo of yourself with this class on, with the computer on, with the device on, and share it on social media and tag me and, you know, this class, there is a little something I want to honor and share with you guys. So if you're doing that, there is absolutely no need, but if you're feeling called and you're excited and you've enjoyed this, share it with the world so we can really get it out, because at the end of the day, we all get to experience this. This is my mission here, that I cannot shut up about this. And I've seen people's life change, my life change. So we've got to do it. This is our collective intention. So share it on social media. I have something special. When you tag me, my team is going to send it to you. Thank you for being here. It's been amazing. If you want to do a little boomerang, you can right now as I speak. I love these. Oh my God, they're so beautiful, you guys. I have to take a screenshot of this, even though I can later. But these emojis, oh my God. Oh, these are so pretty, so amazing. I can feel your love. I can feel your frequency. I can feel your gratitude. I can feel your presence. And this is just an evidence. Everything that I'm right now saying, I observed it once. When I had no clients, to when I wanted this, when I had no clients internationally, to suddenly manifesting, like I remember in October 2020, when I had my first 21K launch out of nowhere. Before, a few months before that, I was literally struggling to pay my bills. This is the power of observer effect. And I'm so glad that I've shared this with you, and I can't wait to hear your stories. And if there is anything that comes to you later, you want to share it with me, feel free to send it in my DMs and I will be on it. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Peace out. Bye now. Aha, honored queen. I love that. Bye.